Welcome to the slideshow. Here are some of the images we took on our trip to Newfoundland in 2015. In 13 days, we traveled 4,900 kilometers to see icebergs, puffins, and Northern Gannets. Day 1, we traveled from Bayswater to Sydney before traveling on the ferry to Newfoundland. We stopped to stretch our legs at the Bredor Lake Lookoff. We got to see some house sparrows at the Comfort Inn in Sydney. We were the first in line to wait to board the ferry. Miss Darlene got out for some fresh air. We try to take selfies while we're away on our vacations. We decided to make the day trip on the ferry. It took 7.5 hours from North Sydney to Port-aux-Basques. We decided we'd spend our first evening at the Codroy Valley Provincial Park. You can see the Table Mountains in the background, and there's so many terns in the sky. Darlene likes to take pictures of me taking pictures. Here I am taking a picture of a sandpiper and a clamshell. You can see the dramatic clouds over the Table Mountains. On day 3, we left Port-aux-Basques, headed to Corner Brook. We stopped by at J.T. Cheeseman Provincial Park, Cape Ray, and Stephenville. There are derelict buildings out at Cape Ray. It's a quiet place, and it would be very cold during a storm. We saw 3 moose playing in the ditch by the Trans-Canada Highway close to Stephenville. We stopped and took some pictures. We made a quick stop in Stephenville to drive across the tarmac of an old United States Air Force base. We saw the sign Rocky Brook, and there was lots of water in the stream, so we stopped to take some pictures. On day 4, we left Gander, headed to St. John's, with a few stops along the way. Lumsden, Terra Nova National Park, Clarenville, Middle Cove, Torbay, Flat Rock, and Pooch Cove. The first goal of our trip was to see icebergs, and in the Lumsden area we were not disappointed. With a boat passing by, you can just see how massive these icebergs are. Our Lady of Lourdes Grotto is a Roman Catholic religious shrine located outside of the parish church in Flat Rock. It was founded in 1954 by William Sullivan after his return to the parish from Lourdes, France. Sullivan saw many similarities in the terrain in Lourdes to that of his church in Flat Rock, and saw that it would be a great opportunity to take advantage of this land. It is to date the largest religious grotto east of Montreal and has been visited by Pope John Paul II on September 12, 1984, where it received a special blessing from His Holiness. We visited Pooch Cove to see the iceberg and also the murals that are painted there. On day 5, we left St. John's to travel to Cape St. Mary's. We came across this burnt car on Highway 92 in the middle of nowhere. We decided to stop and take some pictures. Good thing, when we came back, it was gone. There was a massive iceberg just before we reached Branch. It's very rare to see an iceberg in this area. We took a couple pictures from the bridge in Branch, one looking out towards the ocean and one at the town. The visit to Cape St. Mary's was mainly to see the Northern Gannets. There is a colony of approximately 15,000 birds there. There are many other birds at the reserve as well. Here you'll see common murres and razorbills. There is a roped-off area to get as close as possible to the Northern Gannets to take their picture. Here you see kittiwakes gathering grass to take back to build their nests. There are so many Northern Gannets at this location, the difficult part is to try to isolate the Northern Gannets to get a nice picture. I decided to print this image of the Northern Gannets showing affection for each other on a 30 by 40 canvas. Here's a wide-angle view of Bird Rock at Cape St. Mary's. You can see how many Northern Gannets are concentrated in this one area. Another selfie from yet another amazing location. It's day 6 and we left St. John's to travel the Irish Loop, visiting Point Lehay, St. Vincent's, Biscay Bay, Portugal Cove South, Cappyhagan, Renouse, and Fairyland. We saw some old cement bridges. We just had to stop and take some pictures. We came across this replica of a town called Odrin in Placentia Bay. We saw boats in Renouse and dry dock, and a North American river otter basking in the sunlight. Fairyland has many small islands, a lighthouse, and religious monuments. We made 2 quick stops at Burnt Cove and Baleen East. The Terns were fishing at Witless Bay. It's day 7 and we're leaving St. John's, headed to Bonavista. We made some stops in Sunnyside, Clarenville, Port Rexton, Port Hood, and Elliston. We saw some bald eagles in Sunnyside and were able to get quite close. Terns were fishing in Lower Shoal Harbor at Clarenville. To see some more icebergs in Port Rexton, and we took another selfie on Robin Hood Beach in front of a small iceberg. Another one of our goals was to get pictures of puffins. We traveled to Elliston. On the first day we got there, there wasn't very many puffins at all. While at Elliston, we got to see the gulls fighting, some other small birds, and we took in some of the scenery. Elliston is also known as the root cellar capital of the world. Time for another selfie. It was pretty windy. I got a new hairdo. We had supper at the cafe at Walkham's Gate Pub. This was probably the best dessert I've ever had, called Brownie Bottom. After supper, we went to Moses Point to shoot a sunset. It's day 8 and we spent some time around Bonavista, visiting Elliston, Spiller's Cove, Lands Cove, Dungeon Provincial Park, Cape Bonavista, and Moses Point. We had breakfast at Walkham's Gate Pub. I had the old-fashioned Newfie breakfast. At Cape Bonavista, we took pictures of the Inuksuks and of the lighthouse. There is also a small puffin site at Cape Bonavista. We went back to Elliston but did not see any puffins. We went to Spiller's Cove and got to see some traditional inshore lobster fishing. We got to see some horses grazing at the Dungeon Provincial Park. We saw Lance's Cove, the natural archway of a collapsed sea cave, and the rugged shoreline toward Cape Bonavista. Day 9 and we're leaving Bonavista headed towards Gander. We're going to visit Elliston again, hoping to see more puffins. We'll also stop by Clarenville to capture more images of terns, and also head to Lumsden to hopefully see more icebergs. Finally, our last day visiting Elliston, there were so many puffins, we had a lot of fun capturing images. Taking pictures of puffins in flight is challenging. They're small and they move fast. Sometimes a collage can tell a better story than a single image. We stopped by Clarenville. There were more images to capture of terns. We stopped back in the Lumsden area to get a few more pictures of the icebergs. On Highway 33 on our way to Gander, we saw this beaver house. Just had to stop and take a picture. Later on, I posted on Twitter, even the beavers have satellite TV in Newfoundland. Day 10, leaving Gander on our way to Corner Brook. We stopped by Deer Lake at the Newfoundland Insectarium and also took some pictures of the butterflies in the butterfly house. A beautiful sunset in Corner Brook to finish another great day. It's day 11 and we're leaving Corner Brook to go to Port aux Basques. We'll make a trip around the Port Peninsula, where we found Heddon Falls and Sheaves Cove, visit Grand Bay West Beach, visit Moose Island Bay for a sunset, and take a quick view of the lighthouse in Port aux Basques. Before we left Corner Brook, we took a look at their outside train museum. Time for a couple more selfies. Panorama view of Corner Brook from the Trans-Canada Highway 1 lookoff. We spent quite a bit of time at Sheaves Cove, location of Heddon Falls. There's so much to photograph here. Our Lady of Mercy Catholic Church on the Port Peninsula is the largest wooden Catholic church in Newfoundland. was constructed between 1914 and 1925 and seats 1,000 people. Decided to take our sunset photos at Mouse Island Bay. You can see how the light changes during the sunset. It's day 12 and we'll spend some time around Port-aux-Basques. First we travel to Rose Blanche. We'll also stop by Barachois Falls on our way. In the evening we'll go to Caudroy Valley Provincial Park. But first we'll go to Big Pond to get some reflections of the Table Mountains. We noticed a quarry alongside of the road, so we stopped and took some photographs. We stopped by Burt Islands to check it out. It's a bit of a walk to Barachois Falls from the parking lot, but it's worth it. In Rose Blanche is an amazing stone lighthouse. It is a must-see. Back at the Caudroy Valley Provincial Park, we took some pictures of driftwood. They looked like ancient mammals. We stopped to take a sunset photo at a look-off the Trans-Canada Highway. It's day 13, time to head back to Nova Scotia. We decided to stop by the Port-aux-Basques Lighthouse before we got on the ferry.